is Touched by Heaven, everyday encounters with God. Those moments when heaven and earth collide. And we see God, we see his hand reaching out to us, attempting to get our attention. I'm your host, Trapper Jack. Trapper, haven't you learned not to talk politics? I have learned that. And then God wants to talk politics every now and then, so okay, we'll do that. And this is normally something I would do on my little itty-bitty video series called Men's Morning Light, MML. And we did. Actually, I did. I got my old friend, journalist Ed Esposito on that program. We talked about this topic, and then I received more, and I'm supposed to talk about it here on Touched by Heaven. So it's like, okay, we can do that. And if I may, I'm going to talk about something first that I didn't mention a few years back after the 2020 election. And there was this, was the election stolen? Did Trump actually win? No, Biden won. And there was all of that going on, remember? And so I said in prayer, it's just me, but is there anything you want to tell me about the election? Next day in my podcast app, I found a podcast that I did not download. It was from the television series, or about the television series Lost. You remember that series on ABC years ago? There's a jet that crashes in the ocean, and then everybody goes over to this island, and over the years, there's this very complex, complicated story that I didn't watch. My son really got into it, but I've got a podcast about the show from years before. And I'm going, why? And then the next day, in my head, I talk about songs bubbling up. Lost had kind of a funny little theme, if you will, musical theme, this odd sound, and I was hearing that. And I thought, okay, that's two in a row. So I went to my son and I said, I don't need to tell me about the whole show. I know about the jet crash. I know about the island. I know a lot of stuff has happened. I know it's layered, it's complex, it's complicated. How does the show end? And he said, well, it ends in a church. I said, really? He says, yeah, they're all dead, but they're in a church and they're in kind of a purgatory state. I said, well, isn't that interesting? I started thinking, is that where the U.S. is right now? Are we in kind of a purgatory, purging off sin until some sort of, I don't know. I mean, if Trump just lost, and I have two references to Lost, but why didn't he just give me the Beatles song, I'm a Loser, or something like that? Instead, it's a show that has, again, all these layers and complicated and complex, and it's like, what is that? There's a mystery to it. As there is a mystery to the song that started playing in my head on August 13th, Matchbox 20. I'm not crazy, I'm just a little unwell. You know the song, you've heard it. I'm not crazy, I'm just a little unwell. That's it. Anyway, so, and I kind of blew it off. I thought, is that Putin? What is that? I'm not crazy. I don't know. I didn't look at the lyrics. And then later in the week, it was a Thursday, it was August 17th, I was in Adoration Chapel at Port Claire's, where the nuns live, and in the cloistered nuns. And I'm in Eucharistic adoration before the Blessed Sacrament, Jesus, and the song starts playing in my head again. And there's this Trump thing that's happening too. It's like, what? How are these? So I'm just going to start us off there. And again, I brought in Ed. He's already done this once, but we went a little deeper this time. And then this extra information that has come in the last several days, and why? And my question is, why does God want to talk about this, but he wants to talk about this? So here now is my buddy, longtime friend, journalist, Ed Esposito. And hi and welcome, by the way.
Oh, hi and welcome back.
Well, thank you so much. And we worked together a bunch of years, and I was your best man, which you'll always regret. And let's see what else. And
best wedding speech ever.
Best. Yes.
I still hear about it.
I bet you do. So the song, I walk into the Adoration Chapel, I sit down, I'm praying, and I hear, I'm not crazy, I'm just a little unwell. And at that point, I don't know I don't even remember what the song is officially called, which is Unwell. I don't remember it's Matchbox 20. I just hear that. I don't remember any of the other lyrics, nothing. And then I kind of get this infusion of Trump. And I'm going, what? I'm not crazy. Now that's interesting. When you think about Trump and I'm not crazy, I'm just a little unwell. That got my attention, Ed. Know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So when I went home and looked at the lyrics, I thought, well, this is really interesting. I don't know what to do with it, but this is really interesting. A couple of weeks later, I'm back in that same chapel. Same song comes up. It's been playing every now and then, and it's there and again. But this time the infusion is Ed, meaning you, Ed Esposito, news guy, journalist, a guy I respect, a guy that always has this kind of interesting take on politics. And I thought, okay, so apparently I was supposed to talk to you on the Men's Morning Light. And then I get more stuff that says, carry this over to Touched by Heaven. So that's why we're here today, okay?
Very good.
Okay, now then. So these lyrics, and I'm just going to kind of paraphrase as we go, but an important part about this when a song bubbles up is somebody is singing to somebody else. Well, the somebody obviously is Trump singing to us. Let's say the American voter, okay?
Okay.
Okay. So he's singing to Americans and he's saying, but I'm not crazy. I'm just a little unwell. And I know you can't tell, but
kind of stick around and maybe.
Yeah, you'll see a side of me that you haven't seen before.
Right.
So, which leads one to say, you'll see a side of me you haven't seen before. So it's like, is this a new improved guy? Is this a guy trying to change something? Is this a guy who's reinventing himself, a side of me? So we were talking on MML about, well, there is that side of him that he squelched, which was the nice stuff he did for people. You know, people would, he'd have a flat tire on the road, or his chauffeur would, and a guy would stop and help him out and change the tire, and then he'd pay off his house or something crazy like that. Or he would see somebody in need on television in a news story, and he just sent him money. But he never wanted that publicized. So you and I talked about, is that it? Because he did a few of those things, right?
Yes, he did.
Okay. So maybe that's the side of him, or maybe just the side of him that seems nicer and not so
crazy,
venomous.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
Right.
Song goes on. Okay. I'm not crazy. I'm just a little impaired. I know you don't care, but you'll be thinking about how I used to be.
Could be how I used to be before I became this political public figure as opposed to being Mr. Celebrity.
Okay. Okay. Talk about that guy, Celebrity Apprentice guy. Who is that guy?
Well, when you and I talked on MML, so the guy, if people will honestly recall what they thought of Donald Trump before he decided he was going to run for president, he was, the Uber salesman. Everyone loved to talk, the Art of the Deal book. He was the ultimate deal maker. He was the guy who fired people on TV. He was a media mogul. He owned sports teams. He put together entertainment programs. He built casinos. Number one and foremost, anything. He took old buildings and stuff that people said couldn't be done. He rebuilt this huge hotel right next to Grand Central Station when no one said it could be done, and he did it. He was bigger than life. He was Mr. New Yorker, but in some respects, he was a huge celebrity. He was the celebrity.
Okay.
People wanted to have their picture taken with him. People wanted him at their parties.
Okay, so maybe you'll think about me how I used to be versus the venomous.
Versus Mr. Nasty politician.
Okay.
Who said the things he clearly said about John McCain and other people, and his references to Megyn Kelly. I mean, you even if you're one of his strongest supporters, he's gone over the line on some of the things he said.
Right. Then the song then goes on about how it's kind of a paranoia part of the song where I know people are talking about me on the train. I can hear their whispers and all this kind of stuff. And I'm starting to. It sounds like in the song, I'm starting to wonder if there isn't something wrong with me and if I haven't lost my mind. That's in there too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's a humility thing, if that's am I really a little off? But again, these lyrics aren't always exactly right as they bubble up in my mind. Who knows?
Or is it just like maybe I'm being more reflective than I was before?
Right. And also, I should say, too, Matchbox 20, I looked up, what does this song mean? And Matchbox 20 basically says, the song is about, we're all crazy. We're all a little off. We're all, how many of us would want every thought that's in our mind be broadcast to everybody?
Sure.
Not so much, right? Not so much. We're not crazy, but we're all a little crazy. And we all sometimes think about, did I just think that? So anyway, there's some of that going on. Okay. Then the song finishes up with, I'm not crazy. I'm just a little unwell. And I do talk in my sleep. But then comes this part. The end part is, but they're coming to get me, and they are going to get me, and they're going to take me away. Again, cataclysmic, it sounds horrible. That, wait a minute, is there something?
Is there something incredibly dangerous for him?
Yeah, something dastardly about to happen. They're coming to get him. They are going to get him. That kind of thing. But then it says they're going to take me away. Well, in what way are they going to take him away? And it could be bad, or it could just simply be what's going on in politics right now, right?
Yeah. It could be that he has plenty of enemies who will do almost anything to stop him or to get in his way. And, they want him stopped, and they'll do whatever they can. So they're going to come take him away. They're going to indict him. They're going to stand in the way. They're going to try and invoke the Constitution and say that he can't serve. They're going to impeach him again. They're going to go protest against him again.
Right.
They're going to picket him again. They're going to do all of those things,
and maybe keep him in court during the entire, if he indeed is the nominee, keep him in court the whole time. Who knows? Who knows what the ultimate plan is, right? But as you have mentioned, is there, for Donald Trump, is there any publicity that isn't good publicity?
All publicity for Donald Trump is good publicity.
Because that's just the world he lives in.
Well, the celebrity world, historically, there's a great saying in advertising and celebrity and marketing. All publicity is good publicity. It may be bad publicity, but as long as people remember your name, that's what counts. Does it really matter what they're saying? Your name, you're still in the tabloids every day. You're still on the talk. You're still on these, people are still talking about you every day. And it's certainly the same thing in politics. If you look at when he was booked in Atlanta, when he had to go in and do the mugshot, right? Mm-hmm. What was the reaction to the booking for? He could have offered his plea, done everything else, and not been booked. It was political and marketing genius for him to go get booked and have that photograph. It gave him something to surf off of and to feed to his supporters, and it was polarizing as all get out.
Yeah.
I mean, for the people who don't like him and don't want to see him be president again, it reinforces for them every reason of their passionate dislike of him. For the people who think that he's getting a raw deal or that he is a person who can save us from what we see as a morass, then it just reinforces that he's being persecuted, and that turns him into a martyr.
Yeah. Now, all of this, we're talking politics here. This is not a place where Touched by Heaven goes. It's just not. So sure. I find it so interesting. And I truly believe this is the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit has started this process on August 13th. We're getting towards the end of September, and this song has not gone away. And it's like, why? And I have to keep asking, what are you up to? Because I really believe the Holy Spirit is up to something. Okay, so that's kind of where we left things with MML, right? Was there anything? Oh, we talked a little bit about media. Let's talk about media.
Right.
Because media loves Donald right up to the actual election.
I would tell you that even after the actual election.
Okay.
The people who run, the people who own media may personally think it's horrible and disgraceful, but they think it's disgraceful all the way to the bank. If you're outraged by Trump, how many people who are outraged by Trump that ignore him?
Can't.
They can't. Yeah. I mean, I know people who are, as you do, as any of us listening to this program, we all know people who can't stand, who hate the thought of Donald Trump being president. They find it repulsive. But that doesn't, and if you talk to them about it, they'll know all the latest stuff that he's done because they're still consumers of this, because it feeds into their passion, whether it's hatred or support, whether it's support or whether it's dismissive. They're not dismissive to the point where they're looking around and saying, I'm not going to watch this anymore, or I'm not going to listen to it, or I'm not going to read it, because it's everywhere. You can't escape it. You're either going to vote for the guy or you're going to vote against the guy.
Okay. So we've said all that. Now I get into the other part. So yesterday, and this is why we're talking today, I'm fighting a cold, as you can hear in my voice, and so you get tired more easily, and I'm going to go take a nap, but I'm also going to go pray about this, too. I went downstairs in the basement and have a sofa down there, and I sat there knowing I was going to fall asleep. Well, something happens I kept I kept going to sleep and waking up like 6 times, and each time there was something else there when I was waking up. So I'm going to take you through those 6 things, okay?
Sure.
Okay. First thing I heard, this is bizarre. First thing I heard was, well, E.F. Hutton says, when E.F. Hutton talks, people listen.
People listen. Right.
This is the greatest brokerage television ad that has ever run. It's from 40 plus years ago.
And we all still remember.
And we still remember. It's still the best. And I looked up E.F. Hutton. They're not with, I guess they went away, but then there's another company.
They don't exist anymore.
Yeah, well, there is somebody called E.F. Hutton, but they're not a brokerage anymore. It's something else now.
Right.
But it was the most effective brokerage ad of all time. These like restaurant scenes, and there's this giant din of noise, but somebody at one table goes, well, my broker's E.F. Hutton, and E.F. Hutton says, everybody stops talking, and everyone leans their ear towards that conversation. It was just so effective.
Incredibly effective marketing.
So what is that about? Is somebody, who is it that's going to be talking that everyone's going to stop and listen? I kind of get a sense that, is that in the air? Somebody's going to stop. Somebody's going to talk, and everyone's going to stop and listen. I don't know what part of the story that is. I just throw it out there as that was the first thing I got. Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to jump over number 2 because we can spend the most time with it, and I find it the most interesting. So we'll go to number 3. Number 3 was a phrase. He walked her up the hill and then said something to her, or tried to say something to her. He walked her up the hill, and then he tried to say something or did say something to her. Okay, I'm going, walked her up the hill. Who knows who the he is? Who knows who the she is? But I thought the hill, what could that be, Ed, Mr. Political guy?
If you're doing it purely from the lens of it's Capitol Hill.
Capitol Hill could be it, right? Walked her up Capitol Hill, said something, whatever that means,
right.
Whatever that means. I also thought from my spirituality side, if you will, been to Medjugorje. The hill is Apparition Hill. Is there something to do with her being Mary? Is there a Mary connection in all of this? I don't know, but that was the phrase I heard. Next, I'm hearing Benny and the Jets, Elton John, Electric Boots, and all of that stuff.
Okay.
I went and looking up the lyrics, I found out something I did not know. What Benny and the Jets as a title means. Do you know?
I do not. I always get confused when he does Benny and the Jets. That's what I remember.
Well, Benny is Benjamin Franklin, $100 bills, and the Jets are the contrails, if you will, cocaine, lines of cocaine being snorted through the $100 bills. Yeah,
through a $100 bill. Wow,
through the $100 bills. That's what Benny and the Jets is all about, apparently. And there's also
I did not know that.
I didn't either. So, and there's also some lyrics in there about young in the streets fighting parents and stuff like that. And you could kind of make a correlation of what's going on with the youth today, and wherever it's all crazy time with parents and kids and everything. I don't know. Next. You're old enough to remember the song too. Jay and the Americans, This Magic Moment.
Mm-hmm.
It's like Jay and the Americans. Okay, you got a political thing. Jay and the Americans, Donald J. Trump. I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know what Jay and this magic moment. What is the magic moment? Well, maybe that connects to the thing I jumped over. Here's number 2, and you'll know this reference. You saw the movie Heaven Can Wait, Warren Beatty.
Absolutely.
Love that movie. It's one of those movies for me I can't not watch. I have to watch that movie. I just love that movie. Warren Beatty plays a L.A. Ram quarterback. He's going to go to the Super Bowl and all that. An angel makes a mistake, and he dies when he's not supposed to. He wasn't supposed to die yet, and he dies, and now they've got to put him back in another body because he still wants to be the quarterback for the Rams and take him to the Super Bowl. And whose body do they put him in? A billionaire. They put him in a billionaire's body. Okay, and then he buys the Rams to be the quarterback for the team, but before they get to the Super Bowl, somebody shoots him with a rifle, shoots and kills him. In fact, he disappears down in the well, if you remember.
Yeah.
Okay, then here's the part that this is the part I got in my little La La Land moment as I'm coming to. What I heard was, at the Super Bowl game, no reason anybody else would remember this, but at the game, what you hear when Jarrett, the quarterback of the LA Rams, goes down and no one realizes he's dead. He got hit hard and he goes down. They're just talking about, boy, this doesn't look good. He's not moving and all this kind of stuff. He's dead. And what happens is in the background, you hear a band playing. You hear a band playing this tune. I heard that tune. I woke up to that tune, so I know immediately we're at the end of the game. It's the Super Bowl. I think they're in overtime. Whoever scores first wins. And this is the scene where, with this dead quarterback on the field, Warren Beatty's character, now in spirit form only, goes into Jarrett's body and on the next play runs it in for a touchdown and wins the Super Bowl against all odds, right? So he gets his dream. He wins as quarterback of the LA Rams.
Wow. Yeah.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so you have all kinds of scenarios possible with this. You have the purely physical assassination. You've got that part of it. And the spirit of Donald Trump, let's say, in another candidate goes on to win. There's that. Could you see that?
I can.
Okay. You have the political assassination. Donald Trump, because of the court battles, the indictments,
is ruined.
He is ruined. Plus, he's got a Judas on his team somewhere handing over whatever information, and he is just dead 10 times over in that regard. There is no possible life for this guy. But by an act of God, dare I say, because that's what the movie says, by an act of God, with the angels standing around on the field there, he comes back to life and wins against all possible odds. A nightmare for many, many, and a dream come true for others.
For others.
Is there a third scenario?
Boy, is a third scenario that do it between the spiritual and the physical. It's the metaphysical.
Okay.
So does somebody carry his standard forward that we're not even thinking of right now or don't see in that light? He's failed, he's ruined, but somebody takes up his standard and crosses the finish line with it, which is kind of the same as him crossing the finish line.
Or there's one other one, which is, again, an act of God, which is he is shot, he is dead, and he comes back to life. You think about Reagan, he was gone.
Right.
Pope John Paul II, he was gone. And they came back by an act of God on both cases to defeat communism. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Is this possible? And see, the people who think Trump is the Antichrist are throwing up right now at the mere thought that God would do something like this. I'm telling you, the Holy Spirit is up to something, and I don't know what the outcome is, and I could be missing it, and you could be missing it. Maybe there's something else in this, but there's a reason why I heard this football thing.
A lot of dots to put together.
There are.
Doesn't mean they're not connected.
No, but those were all. I think those were all the scenarios. Maybe there's another one there I missed.
Is the picture of what God wants really for us mortals to figure out, or is it for us to have the faith to believe in? Why do you have to be able to figure it out? Maybe it's supposed to be a mystery on purpose because you're just supposed to think about it.
I think that's it. To your point, it's not the finish line. This is just some information. To me, this is information crawling inside Donald's head, so to speak.
And ours.
And it's kind of like it's breadcrumbs. It's breadcrumbs from a bunch of different directions. I believe all of them from above, but just different little things to think about through the use of music, through a clip of a movie, through a phrase. I don't know. It's just bits and pieces of a story that eventually will make sense, I think.
So bring that thought full circle.
Yes.
So bring the thought where maybe the point of this is not that you're supposed to think of something in a certain way. Maybe the point of this is you're just supposed to think of things differently and on your own and not base it on what other people say.
I like that.
You're supposed to come to the conclusions based on what you think it means, not what someone else tells you it means.
Oh, that's definitely true. I mean, the whole thing about music and spiritualizing the music is that it never means what it originally meant. And this song certainly is trying to tell us something. I have no doubt who it's about. I have no doubt I was supposed to talk to you about it. I have no doubt about the Heaven Can Wait means something. The other songs, I assume, mean something in all of this. The walked her up the hill to, to tell her something, to mean something. I don't think these are random. And somewhere along the way, we'll be able to connect the dots. I don't know when. I don't know if that's next week or next year, but it means something.
So walked her up the hill. You do realize that when a president is inaugurated, they go up to Capitol Hill to get their inaugural speech that they give to the country.
Well,
that big podium on the back of the Capitol is on a hill overlooking Washington, D.C.
Who's the her?
Can it not be America? Don't we always refer to America as her?
It can be Lady Liberty. Yeah, it can be. It can be her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
America, the country that I love. Yeah. She.
Yeah.
I mean, you never hear people talk about America being the fatherland. That's another country.
Yeah. That's over in Europe somewhere. The one that keeps getting into trouble. And we've referenced that before. Many times the her is a country. The her can be, the church can be a her. Yeah, we always make sure we understand who the her is and things. So good call on your part, Ed. That's one of the hers.
Just thinking out of the box there, buddy.
Yeah. So you're catching on. You're spiritual when you call on it.
Well, it's just, but it's the way of thinking. It's interesting. So you're getting vibes on music and movies and popular culture. They're coming to you in your head because they're trying to help you connect dots in a way that will help you maybe perhaps better understand the way things are going.
Correct. It's a teaching method. It leads me to topics and such. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. It's amazing how many lyrics have something to teach when you understand. We were just, in fact, it was also yesterday. One of the songs was Across the Universe by John Lennon. It came after the 6 things I mentioned. Mm-hmm. And when you look at the lyrics of Across the Universe, it's God speaking to all of us. The song starts out with words going, out across into a paper cup or something. But bottom line, the word. Think of it being the word. In the beginning, there was the word. And then later it says, never gonna change my world. Is that the lyric? Never
gonna change my world.
In other words, nothing changes God's world. Nothing. He doesn't have a bad day. Nothing changes God's world. He's perfect, having another perfect day. And it's like nothing's going to, so one of it is the word is going out. I share the word with you. Then there's this other lyric that talks about all these specks of light going out. Christ is the light of the world. We are also the light of the world going out across the universe. It's all when you spiritualize it in a way John Lennon would freak out about.
Would he?
Yeah, I think he would. For a guy who did Imagine, yeah. Because that was a world without a heaven or a hell, and all that. You look at those lyrics spiritualized, and they were horrible words, just horrible. But Across the Universe is a very spiritual song when you flip it on its side and spiritualize the lyrics. So it always makes it very, very interesting.
And anyone who ever tells you music isn't relevant, ask them what songs stick in their head from when they were young, when they were at their first dance, or when they first heard a song that had meaning to them. You realize our entire generation still finds relevance with what Bob Dylan and the Beatles sang about.
Absolutely. Every generation.
Every generation has those. I mean, I'm an old guy. I don't want to admit it, but the fact of the matter is Dr. Dre and Eminem have a lot of relevance for people that are far younger than us.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I do feel sorry for the disco era people. I'm really sorry. Sorry about that little blip in there. Sorry.
Yeah, just, I don't know, maybe shake your booty. It actually does have
love to love you, baby. Love to love you.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a joy, Ed. It's been a joy.
Thanks for those earworms. I won't get Donna Summers out of my brain for the rest of the night now. Thank you, sir.
There you go. God bless you, Ed. Thank you so much.
You too, buddy.
Thanks, Ed. Appreciate your insights. What did I mention? The very first thing I got this time was E.F. Hutton. When E.F. Hutton talks, people listen. Well, when God talks, we try to listen, don't we? But beyond listening, it's discerning. Because he doesn't think like we think. That's biblical. He doesn't think like we think, and we're supposed to conform our minds to his. And so we try to hear, we try to listen, we try to understand, we we try to have wisdom in all of this. So I just wanted to share with you what he wanted me to share with you, and then discern what that might mean. And that's always an interesting part of this. So thank you for that, for this very unusual Touched by Heaven episode. And I appreciate you kind of going on the ride with me, with us. All right, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your stories. You have one? Let me know your Touched by Heaven moments. That's what this is about. This was some of mine. What's yours? You can contact me here at touchedbyheaven.net. You can also click through here to go to Patreon if you'd like to support what we do here at Touched by Heaven. And my Patreon shout out this week, Sarah Abity. Thank you so much, Sarah, for joining the Patreon family and keeping all of this going week to week. Thank you so much. And we'll do this again next week here at Touched by Heaven, everyday encounters with God. I'm Trapper Jack, sometimes known as just
Crazy.